move forward with heavy hearts but clear minds. If the Vice President is guilty, let the truth convict her. If she is innocent, let the process clear her. But let it be done through the light of justice, not the shadows of silence. Ituloy na natin ang huling hakbang ng yugtong ito para sa katotohanan, para sa sambayanang Pilipino. Esteemed colleagues, beloved countrymen, malayo pa, pero kahit papaano, sa totoo lang, malayo na. Maraming salamat po. At this juncture, may we direct the committee secretary to manifest to the committee whether the committee report, the attached resolution, as well as the articles of impeachment have been sent to the members of the Justice Committee, the respondent Vice President, as well as the complainant. Comsec.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We confirm that the committee has forwarded the articles of the committee report, the House resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment to all members, regular and ex officio, of the Committee on Justice. However, we have not furnished the complainants and counsel, respondent and counsel of copies of the same, and we intend to do that after the same has been approved and by the committee, and the number of the resolution has already been inputted in the copy of the same. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Chel Jokno is recognized.
Before we proceed to the consideration of the report and draft resolution, may I be allowed to make a brief manifestation? This is all in conjunction with the Chair's opening statement.
You may proceed, Honorable Jokno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sa panahon ngayon na maraming tayong kinakaharap na problema, sobrang pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin, itong mababang pasahod at yung krisis sa Middle East, marami pa rin nagtatanong o meron pa rin nagtatanong kung bakit ba itong impeachment na ito? Ito ba'y aksaya lang ng oras ng mga lingkod bayan? Of course, alam natin na ang kaduluhan ng impeachment ay pananagutan. Pero kailangan siguro natin bigyang diin na ito ay isang hindi ordinaryong proseso. Ang impeachment ay likha mismo ng ating konstitusyon para magkaroon tayo ng isang mabisa at mabilis na mekanismo. Hindi lang sa pananagutan, kundi para malaman kung tampat o hindi ang isang lingkod bayan na napakataas ang kanyang power at responsibility. Kasi po, pag hindi tampat ang lingkod bayan, ang resulta ay korupsyon. Ang bawat pisong nawawala sa korupsyon na napupunta sa bulsa ng isang opisyal ay pisong ninanakaw sa pinahirapang pera ng ating mga taxpayers. Ang pondo natin ay hindi dapat ginagamit para sa bulsa lang o sariling interes, kundi para sa ikabubuti ng lahat. Deserve ng ating mamamayan ang mga leader na magpapatibay sa ating mga institusyon. Hindi lang yung mga magpapabagsak nito o magkapapakorap ng pera ng bayan. And that is why, Madam Chair, impeachment is so important for our nation even in this time of crisis. Hindi po madali ang mga nakaraang buwan para sa mga miyembro at chair ng committee. To determine probable cause, we had to look into every piece of evidence and make sure that we did not miss anything. Kaya dahil dito, I think we should commend our chair, all the members of the Committee on Justice, and all the secretariat as well, beginning with the committee secretary, dahil wala tayong ginawang shortcut, hindi tayo sumuko sa mga banta. We did the work that the Constitution required of us. Kaya po, sa pag-usad ng impeachment case, huwag sana natin kakalimutan. We are doing this para ito sa mga pamilyang nagtitiis sa presyo ng bilihin habang nilulustay ang pera ng bayan. Sa mga manggagawa, mga magsasaka, at mangingisda na talagang nagkakanda, kuba na sa kahirapan pang araw-araw sa kabila nitong nakikita nating korupsyon. At lalong-lalo na para sa mga kabataan natin na nangangarap ng isang magandang kinabukasan at naghahanap ng hustisya at pananagutan. Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair.
All the manifestations of the Honorable Jokno are noted by the committee. Now we are formally opening the floor for our agenda for today's hearing. That is the approval of the committee report with the attached resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable DSJ Suarez is recognized.
Madam Chair, insofar as every member of the committee has been given a copy of the committee report, I move for the approval of the committee report and the attached resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment against the Vice President, SARA Zimmerman Duterte. So moved, Madam Chair.
Madam
Second,
Chair.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, before
Before we take up the motion, let us acknowledge first the Honorable Laila De Lima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just like the rest of the members of the committee, this representation received the final drafts of the 3 documents: the committee report, the resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment, and lastly, the articles of impeachment itself, which is supposedly to be attached to the resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment. Since yesterday, I submitted to the committee secretariat piecemeal certain proposed revisions or corrections on these 3 documents. And this morning, I again submitted to the committee secretariat and even to the office of the Honorable Chair the final set of my proposed revisions or corrections, consisting mainly of clerical or typographical errors and even some substantive errors, but mostly clerical or typographical errors for the consideration of the committee before the final approval of the same. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam
I would have
Chair.
wanted to make a manifestation individually of those proposed revisions, but it might take time. So I'm just making that general manifestation of my submission of those proposed corrections or revisions. Thank you.
In
Madam
response to the Honorable De Lima, may we place it on record that all the requests for clerical and typographic corrections to the committee report have been adopted already by the Secretariat, only that we do not have the luxury of time to reproduce to such number of copies to provide all members present today with a revised copy of the committee report. But let it be placed on record that all the requests for corrections of clerical and typographical error have been adopted by the Secretariat.
Madam
The Honorable
Chair,
Jokno is recognized.
Madam Chair.
I have a few substantive matters I'd like to move for amendment to insofar as both the report and the attached articles are concerned. First, Madam Chair, on page 7 of the draft House resolution, it states at the bottom of page 7, and I quote, Respondent Vice President Duterte committed culpable violation of the Constitution and betrayed the public trust by committing plunder and or malversation, graft and corruption, and other high crimes, and I emphasize this part, in amassing and converting the amount of not less than 100, I'm referring to page 6, I stand corrected, which states that the Vice President committed corruption, etc., in amassing and converting the amount of not less than 500 million pesos from the confidential funds allocated to the Office of the Vice President for the years 2022 and 2023. Madam Chair, my concern here, and I'm making this motion to make this consistent with the attached articles, is that if you look at the record of the Commission on Audit, the first 125 million pesos given to the Vice President in 2022, only 73 million pesos of the 125 million was disallowed. And that was also the subject of the appeal made to the Commission on Audit and Bank. If we say not less than, we may be able to prove that there was amassing and converting of around 435 million, if my addition is correct, but it may not reach the amount of 500 million. So to avoid any technicalities later, that there may be objections that we did not prove not less than 500 million, I move that we simply adopt what the language found in the attached articles of impeachment, which state, and I quote, systematic misuse, misappropriation, and irregular liquidation of confidential funds amounting to 500 million, etc. That way we cannot, we will avoid any kind of technical objections to the draft resolution. I so move, Madam Chair.
Second.
There is a motion to adopt the change of language in the articles of impeachment as cited by the Honorable Jokno. The same has been seconded. Is there any objection?
Madam Chair, a point of order. There was a pending motion, and then now there's another motion. Should we first withdraw the first motion and then proceed with the other?
Madam Chair, insofar as I was the one that moved for the first motion, I therefore, we consider first the proposed amendment before we act on my earlier motion.
For the record, the earlier motion for the approval of the committee report with the attached resolution setting for the articles of impeachment has been withdrawn. Now let us take up the motion of the Honorable Jokno. There is a motion for the change of language in the articles of impeachment
Point of information, Madam Chair.
in the committee report so as to make it consistent to the documents of the Commission on Audit.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. So as to make it consistent with the attached articles of impeachment.
With the attached articles of impeachment. The same has been seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is granted. The Honorable Ko is recognized.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, just one more, if I may. This has to do with the page 4, bottom to page 5 of the attached articles
If
of
I
impeachment.
may interrupt Honorable Jokno, you can manifest or raise the motion to include all subject matter of your correction so that we will approve it in one motion only.
If I may, Madam Chair, this pertains to another matter contained in the articles itself that are attached to the House resolution that we are to approve
Okay,
this morning.
please proceed, Honorable Jokno.
Very briefly only, paragraph, at the bottom of paragraph 5 of the articles of impeachment, it states, the foregoing scheme is amply established by documentary records, etc., including the following. And at the top of page 5, it states, letter A, records of hearings before the House of Representatives Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability bear multiple sworn testimonies attesting to irregularities in the handling of confidential funds. Witnesses testified, among others, that special dispersing officers merely release funds upon instruction without knowledge of their ultimate use, that officials were made to sign liquidation reports without being shown supporting documents, and that the alleged beneficiaries of certain expenditures categorically denied receiving any funds. If I may, Madam Chair, if we go back to the records of the testimonies taken before the Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability, It was admitted by no less than the Special Disbursing Officer of the OVP, Ms. Gina F. Acosta, that on December 20, 2022, she turned over 125 million pesos in cash in confidential funds in 4 duffel bags to Colonel La Chica, who is not in the regular or proper chain of disbursement. I would move, Madam Chair, that we simply add the term to persons outside the proper disbursement channels. At the end of after the comma, I quote, witnesses testified, among others, that special disbursing officers merely release funds upon instruction to persons outside the proper disbursement channels without knowledge of their ultimate use. So just that phrase, Madam Chair. I so move.
Second.
The hearing is temporarily suspended. Hearing is resumed. We recognize the Honorable Chel Jokno.
Madam Chair, yes, I believe the Honorable Rene Ho has a
I
motion
understand that you have raised the motion already, so I think if the purpose of yielding
Madam,
the
Madam Chair.
time to the Honorable Tino is to change that motion, perhaps we need to withdraw first the earlier motion, Honorable Jokno.
Madam
Yes,
Chair.
may I just put the situation in its proper context? The paragraph found in page 6 of the House resolution states, and I quote, Respondent Vice President Duterte committed the foregoing impeachable offenses. That part seems to it states that there was a finding that the committee made that offenses were committed. And then, but it continues through the following acts as alleged in the Saballa et al. Complaint. When the session was suspended, it was pointed out to me that the text appearing below this paragraph, simply reproduced what was alleged in the Saballa complaint. So it now appears, Madam Chair, that the real problem lies in the sentence contained in the beginning of that paragraph. And I would suggest, and I would, number one, withdraw my previous motion and suggest that, and move that the following amendment be made. Instead of saying Respondent Vice President Duterte committed the foregoing impeachable offenses through the following acts as alleged in the Saballa complaint, to make it clear, I move that we substitute that with the following. That the Saballa et al. Complaint alleged that Respondent Vice President Duterte committed the foregoing impeachable offenses. That way, we do not have any more to change what is found in the succeeding paragraph below. Yung pong kanina pinag-usapan natin, amass and convert, we can retain that and just simply amend the first paragraph that I just mentioned. Thank you, Madam
May
Chair.
I request the Honorable Jokno to kindly withdraw first the earlier motion?
I respectfully withdraw the earlier motion to amend that portion stating amassing and converting. And I now move, Madam Chair, that we amend the earlier paragraph. I will read it as written in the resolution. Respondent Vice President Duterte committed the foregoing impeachable offenses through the following acts as alleged in the Saballa et al. Complaint. I move that that sentence be amended as follows. The Saballa et al. Complaint alleged that Respondent Vice President Duterte committed the foregoing impeachable offenses through the following acts, colon.
Second, Madam Chair.
Second.
Parliamentary inquiry. Parliamentary status. There is a withdrawal of the earlier motion. That is the replacement of the word amass. The same has been withdrawn. Now we have a motion to replace the heading with the Saballa et al. Complaint alleged that the Vice President committed the following impeachable offenses. The same has been seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Any other concern from the members? The Honorable
Madam
Laila de
Chair.
Lima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Earlier, what I manifested and pointed out are certain clerical or typographical errors and even some minor revisions as to matter of style. And it was also announced by the Honorable Chair that all of those proposed revisions or amendments that I made, that I submitted to the Committee Secretariat and the Office of the Chair this morning were already adopted. I detected also a substantive matter, Madam Chair. Nabanggit po kanina ng ating Chair na base sa SEC record na nanatiling shareholder si VP SARA sa isang kumpanya kahit siya vice-presidente. Indeed, based on the records submitted by the SEC, it is clear that the Vice President was listed as a stockholder of Metro City Chow Foods Corporation in 2016. Additionally, the Vice President was listed as a member of the Board of Directors from 2016 until the latest SEC filing in 2025. I submit that the continued listing of the Vice President as member of the Board of Directors of Metro City Chow Foods Corporation, even after her assumption to office as Vice President, constituted a violation of Section 13, Article 7 of the Constitution by participating in business during her tenure as Vice President. Malinaw po yan, the Section 13, Article 7. May I just quote some of the portions, the relevant portions, Section 13. The President, Vice President, the members of the Cabinet, and their deputies or assistants shall not, unless otherwise provided in this Constitution, hold any other office or employment during their tenure. They shall not, during said tenure, directly or indirectly, practice any other profession, participate in any business, etc., etc. Must not participate in any business. Accordingly, Madam Chair, I propose and move that a subheading under Article 2 of the Articles of Impeachment be inserted on page 10. Pagkatapos po ng subheading B, kasi so far in the current version of the Articles of Impeachment, meron pong dalawang subheadings under Article 2, A and B. May I propose to add a subheading C, letter C, failed to divest all her business interests based on the records of the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, during her tenure as Vice President for the years 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. Also, accordingly, the following allegations must be added after the last paragraph of page 20. Dun pa rin po yan sa Articles of Impeachment. Respondent failed to divest all her business interests based on the records of the SEC during her tenure as Vice President for the years 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. And I must say, Madam Chair, that all other relevant provisions or relevant portions of the committee report, the resolution, and the articles of impeachment be made or be revised to include this point, this matter about the respondent failed to divest all her business interests based on the records of the SEC during her tenure as Vice President for the years 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. I so move.
Second, Madam Chair.
There is a motion to add to Article 2 of the Articles of Impeachment the non-divestment of the Vice President of her business interest from 2022 to 2025, including in all parts of the said article. The same has been seconded by the Honorable Zamora. Is there any objection?
Madam Chair, also the committee report and the resolution, just the relevant portions where pwede pong ipasok itong sentence na ito, itong part na po, itong matter pong ito about failure to divest.
The motion to amend pertains to both the articles of impeachment and the committee report, for as long as there are relevant portions where the non-divestment of business interest must be stated. The said motion has been seconded by the Honorable Zamora. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Madam Chair,
Hearing is suspended. Hearing is resumed.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Tino.
Madam Chair, I propose just an addition to the articles of impeachment, if I may, Madam Chair.
What article, to be specific?
I mean, just the wording in page 4. This is regarding the confidential funds, where it says, witnesses testified, among others, that special disbursing officers merely released funds upon instruction. I just propose that we add upon instruction of the respondent. Para malinaw po, kasi yun ang pinaka-importanting detalye dyan. Yun lang po, Madam Chair. I so
Can you
move.
formalize? Okay. There's a motion to insert in the discussion of confidential fund in the articles of impeachment the phrase upon instruction of the Vice President.
Second.
The same has been seconded by the Honorable Zamora. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion to add is granted.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable DSJ Suarez.
insofar as we have acted on all the proposed amendments of our colleagues, again, I move for the approval of the committee report, the attached resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment against the Vice President Sara Z. Duterte as amended. So moved, Madam Chair.
Second, Madam Chair.
There is a motion to approve the committee report with the attached resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment against the Vice President as amended. The same has been seconded. Is there any
Madam
objection?
Chair, Madam Chair, just a bit of an amendment to the motion.
What's the pleasure of the Honorable De Lima?
Can we add with the attached articles of impeachment?
We
Because
are following the wordings of the rules of impeachment,
Yes,
which
the
says
attached,
setting forth the
the
articles of
articles of
impeachment.
impeachment. So no need to specify with the attached.
I don't
articles
think
of
it is
impeachment.
needed.
Thank you.
We're following verbatim what is provided in the rules of impeachment. Is there any objection? Hearing none, then it means that this is unanimously approved. But again, for purposes of accuracy of the record, may I request the justice members present to raise their hand to show support in the approval of the committee report, the attached resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment as amended. Please raise your right hand. Oops. You may put down your hands. Let it be placed on the record that 55 Out of 55, Justice members physically present manifested their support to the approval of the committee report, to the attached resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment as amended. The chair therefore declares the motion unanimously approved.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
The Honorable Ko.
Madam Chair, may I briefly explain my vote and express a reservation?
Like how many minutes will it take?
Maybe two.
2 minutes. Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, over the weekend, as the articles of impeachment and the report is also being finalized, this representation sent over comments on substantive matters to specifically on the wordings of political destabilization. So while this representation is gladdened to have some of its comments taken in consideration in the final complaint, at the end of it, I'd just like to express on the floor my reservation in the use of the words political destabilization in the subheadings, treating it as a crime in the same vein as grave threats or inciting to sedition. And my last manifestation, Madam Chair, is at the end of the day, this representation cannot agree to the inclusion of the act, quote-unquote, inciting to sedition as forming the grounds of impeachment. And the bigger reason is political, which is that it is being used unfairly and unjustly to critics and activists, as the Philippine law broadly defines the crime as any speech in any form that generates hate, quote-unquote, against government or any of its officers. There have been instances in previous cases wherein inciting to sedition was used, where it is said that if it arouses among its viewers a sense of dissatisfaction against the duly constituted authorities, specifically in the case of Bicoy versus Duterte, this is already inciting to sedition. And this is why, Madam Chair, I have reservation in the use of that, and I believe it is already sufficient that the crime of grave threats to President Marcos Jr. and to public scrutiny in general, security in general, should be enough. But nonetheless, this representation voted yes to the articles of impeachment. That is all, Madam Chair.
The manifestation of the Honorable Ko is noted. Pursuant to Section 9 of the House Rules of Procedure in the impeachment proceedings, the committee report, together with the resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment as amended and as approved, shall be submitted to the House and shall be calendared for the consideration by the House within 10 session days from receipt thereof. In this regard, the committee secretariat is directed to provide copy of the approved committee report with attached resolutions setting forth the articles of impeachment to the respondent Vice President, the complainant, as well as the members of the Justice Committee. So ruled. May I solicit the necessary motion?
Madam Chair,
The Honorable DS Janet Garin,
move to adjourn.
considering that we have approved already the committee report, the articles of the attached resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment, we are now adjourning the impeachment proceeding of the Justice Committee. The hearing is adjourned.
kargador na, Karga Dancer pa! Dahil inextrahan mo, extra rice meals, 99 lang. Extra ulam meals, 129 lang. Inextrahan din ang Max Saver Sulit Busog Meals. Inextrahan!
For that to progress into an impeachment trial, it will be transmitted to the Senate, who will serve as trial judges for the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. With Congresswoman Jervy Luistro also saying that a copy of the amended committee report will be provided to both the Senate and the respondent. In this case, it's Vice President Sara Duterte. We earlier had her legal counsel, Attorney Michael Poa, on Head Start on ANC this morning, saying that they are ready to face the trial when it progresses. More details on this story and other stories on Dateline Philippines. Please stand by for that. It's coming your way on top of the hour here on ANC.
This is the most anticipated smart security camera of the year. No internet connection needed, no wiring or complicated installation, and best of all, it's completely free to use for life. With your data never lost, developed jointly by the U.S. National Academy of Engineering and Caltech, this smart AI-powered camera connects directly to your phone. Even if you're on a plane, you can monitor your home 24/7 in real time, crystal clear, just like watching a live stream. It comes with a lifetime warranty, and if anything goes wrong within the first 10 years, we'll replace it for free. Super compact and packed with a high-capacity lithium battery, this camera can run for over 5 years, even without being plugged in. Here's the coolest part. It has its own built-in network. No need for Wi-Fi or any external internet, just pair it with your phone. And you can check your live feed anytime, anywhere. And yes, the network service is totally free for life. No power cords, no drilling holes, just stick it or place it anywhere you like. You can even mount it in your car as a dash cam, powered by smart AI. It supports remote control and auto tracking. Connect to your phone, and you can instantly view live video, listen to audio, and even talk back through two-way voice communication. All recordings are saved automatically and ready for playback whenever you need them. Plus, it's got infrared night vision, so you get sharp, clear footage even in total darkness. With intelligent motion detection, it automatically starts recording, sounds an alarm, and sends you an alert the moment it spots a stranger or anything suspicious. So even when you're not home, you never have to worry about your kids or elderly family members. A single charge lasts up to 90 days, and remember, it's backed by a lifetime warranty. We guarantee your satisfaction. If you're not happy with it, we'll give you a full refund, no questions asked. Order today, and we'll ship it out immediately. Free delivery right to your door. Plus, for a limited time only, you get 50% off. But hurry, stock is extremely limited. Grab yours now before it's gone.
This is the new generation tungsten steel slingshot, equipped with infrared, automatic wind meter and laser sight. No practice needed to easily hit targets. Fully legal, requires no license to own. Within 40 meters range, you can easily hit any target without practice. Equipped with infrared, automatic wind meter and laser sight, even beginners can easily hit targets. This slingshot is entirely made of tungsten steel, never rusts, durable, comfortable grip, fitted with 28 millimeters wide polymer rubber bands that give projectiles more kinetic energy. In testing, even after hundreds of thousands of intense stretches, the rubber bands remained intact, without aging or breaking. Currently, only the last 10 items remain in stock. We guarantee discreet shipping, no personal information leakage. If you face legal risks due to using this slingshot, we promise comprehensive legal support.
This is a mechanical folding slingshot gun. Not just a simple slingshot that can instantly turn you into a sharpshooter. With rifle-level accuracy. It boasts a 99.5 hit rate within 100 meters and the power to penetrate a 1 mm steel plate instantly. Equipped with a 4x high-definition scope and a special laser locking system. It can accurately hit the spot indicated by the red dot even from 100 meters away. Even beginners using it for the first time can immediately enjoy the thrill of hitting the target with laser aiming alone. No more struggling to pull rubber bands. With its unique mechanical lever structure, you only need to pull the trigger to unleash the powerful energy equivalent to 70 rubber bands. Capable of firing 12 rounds per minute. The core power comes from high elasticity carbon rubber bands imported directly from Japan, which retain their elasticity even after 8,000 shots. When fitted with steel balls, it becomes a precision shotgun for protecting farms and deterring harmful birds and animals. Switching to fishing arrows transforms it into a powerful tool for underwater hunting, ensuring a bountiful catch every time. Made from aerospace-grade alloy steel, it is very sturdy, and when folded, it is only the size of a water bottle, making it easy to carry in a backpack or suitcase for use anytime. Rest assured, according to current national laws, this is a legal professional leisure sports equipment. This is our latest upgraded product. Currently on promotion. The first 50 orders will receive a free luxury package, including 60 special fishing arrows, 200 competition-grade steel balls, and a security check-proof storage bag, valued at $90. We promise thorough discreet shipping and lifetime free after-sales service. With only 100 sets left in stock. Order now before they sell out.
All right, joining us this morning is Attorney Michael Poa, the spokesperson of Vice President Sara Duterte's defense team. Attorney Poa, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ms. Karen, and thank you for having us once again on Head Start.
All right, the House Justice Committee reconvenes today. They will be voting on the committee report that contains the consolidated impeachment case against the Vice President. What are you expecting?
Well, we're actually expecting it to be approved today, maybe subject to certain amendments. Of course, I don't want to speculate, but we're definitely expecting it to be approved today. And I think I've already heard statements that they're scheduling this to be transmitted to the plenary for voting sometime May 11, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, that's subject to change, and that's within the discretion of the House.
All right. Now, you've heard, I want to ask you, certain sectors saying that there's not enough votes. Some have said there's more than enough. There's more than 106 to impeach her. What are your thoughts on this?
Alam nyo, ma'am, napakahirap kasi mag-speculate because you're right, no? Just a few days ago, there were statements saying walang votes. I mean, not enough votes at least. And then just a few, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, now they're saying that there are enough votes. Sa atin naman, whatever happens, we're just ready for it. Of course, again, we maintain our objections dito sa mga proceedings na naganap sa House Committee on Justice, with all the respect, of course, to the members of the committee. But we all know that it's all about numbers at this point. So whatever happens in plenary, we'll just be monitoring the developments and will react accordingly.
Okay, Attorney Poa, looking back, couldn't the team have cooperated more? The results could have been different, they said, if the Vice President actually attended. She had a seat at the House Justice Committee. Does the team regret not participating completely with the proceedings?
Just to answer your question directly, no, we do not regret what we did, precisely because our objections were fundamental and constitutional, no, dito sa naganap na proceedings. Now, if I can just explain further, there's always been this notion that if the Vice President showed up, she could have defended herself, etc. And in fact, we've seen at several instances, the camera pans and zooms on an empty chair, hindi ba? But then, practically speaking, number one, kung wala naman we filed a petition before the Supreme Court. We had to be consistent with our position on our objections to the conduct of these proceedings, or at least the nature or the manner it was conducted. Secondly, ngayon, let's say we were to participate, even as just a defense team, hindi naman kami makapag-participate dun kung wala ang respondent, hindi rin naman kami makapag-test ng credibility through cross-examination dun sa mga witnesses na present. Thirdly, and I think that this is another important point that we haven't really discussed fully. For example, if the Vice President actually attended those hearings, as you know, they presented certain witnesses like Mr. Ramil Madriaga, AMLAC, etc. We were never given advance copies of those reports or presentations, or even the supplemental affidavit of Mr. Madriaga. Now, in that instance, after the presentation of the witness, they would now ask the Vice President to present her evidence and rebut whatever was said. But the thing is, how can we effectively rebut anything that was said on the spot without even having studied these documents? Precisely because we were never furnished copies of these documents before the hearing itself. Just to be fair to the House, they did furnish us copies of these documents after the hearing. But then again, practically and legally speaking, how can one intelligently respond to all these allegations made when, we never got any advance copies of these documents for us to study them and have an intelligent response?
Okay, now it's a given that it was called a mini trial, but it was not a trial per se. In effect, the proceedings were essentially aimed at just solidifying grounds for probable cause. And it is true, the threshold for probable cause, hindi naman mataas yun, mababa lang ang threshold nun. Given the fact that the House Justice Committee said they followed and they were very careful with the conditions set by the Supreme Court, do you agree that they followed the requirements of the Supreme Court?
You know me, Ms. Karen, I've been very fair, especially with my commentaries, even if I'm in the defense team. We do recognize that there were instances when even Chair Luis Tro would even stop certain members from asking probing questions. But our problem really here is more on the complaints themselves, diba? Kasi yung complaints, and aminin natin, walang naka-attach doon ng mga documents. So for example, their claim on the SALN and the ill-gotten wealth, walang naka-attach. And our position is, if we were to determine probable cause, normally, dapat ang naging evaluation is on the complaint, allegations therein, plus the pieces of evidence that were attached. But here, obviously, these documents were not attached, and these documents were obtained through compulsory processes, not by the complainants, but by the Committee on Justice itself. No? Sila yung nagsubpoena for these documents, and when these documents came in, diba, hindi na kasi galing sa complainant yon. That was even after the fact that we had filed
and you
our
find
action.
You find that questionable in nature, because the characteristic of the House Justice Committee is essentially prosecutorial, right? In fact, even if it's meant to be a fair proceeding, their character is prosecutorial because they might be the prosecutors once this get to the Senate. Diba? Parang mali ba yun na sila ang nagsabina ng ebidensya?
Para sa amin po, number one, let's also recognize that under their rules, they do have compulsory power to issue these subpoenas. However, our position is, since sila na rin nagsabi, clarificatory yung nature ng mga hearings na ito, sana man lang yung mga pinanggalingan ng subpoena ay based on already evidence or pieces of evidence that were attached to the complaints. Iba kasi yung walang naka-attach, so then it makes you question, ano yung naging basihan ng mga allegations. Kung wala mang kopya ng kahit anong dokumento ang naka-attach dito. Secondly, these were again subpoenaed only after we have filed our answer and after the complainants have waived their opportunity to file a reply. Usually kasi wala namang problema mag-introduce ng additional documents ang complainants. That's why sa preliminary investigation, for example, may filing ng complaint, diba? And then we file our counter affidavit and then they can file the reply and even strengthen their case. However, in this case, iba kasi yung nangyari. Pag tapos na lahat ng filing ng responsive pleadings, dun lang ngayon nagsubpoena ng mga documents. And again, we were not even furnished copies. For example, the supplemental affidavit po of Mr. Ramil Madriaga. I think we all have to also recognize na sobrang layo niya dun sa original affidavit. No? I'm not saying that these are things that we will not respond to in case this goes on to trial. Of course, we will respond. But that is the position of the defense. Again, ito naman talagang issue na po na to is highly politically charged, highly divisive. So I would like to respect that the Committee on Justice as well as the complainants will have their position. Kami naman sa defense, we're just stating also our theory and our position on the matter.
Well, the impeachment trial is both it's both evidentiary and it's also both political. We know that, right?
Okay.
So I'm sure you've studied past impeachment cases, right? The late Chief Justice Renato Corona essentially was convicted, and what was discovered in the trial was his 200 million peso or more. I'm not sure if it reached 600, but I remember 200 million pesos in a bank account that was then, he was questioned why it was not declared in his SAL-N. So there are pieces of evidence that come to light when it already reaches the trial.
Yes.
What was wrong, essentially, you felt, what was lacking in what was submitted to the House? Because it was quite detailed, many people felt.
Opo. Number one, ang posisyon naman po namin dito is, again, what was quite detailed was procured not by the complainants but by the Committee on Justice. And for us, the function of the Committee on Justice is really to determine probable cause. And again, you're correct in saying that the threshold naman po is not that high in terms of probable cause. But sa atin, when you evaluate if a complaint, thus, if you can find probable cause in the complaint that was filed, you have to evaluate the complaint itself. It cannot be the Committee on Justice doing the job for the complainants to actually procure all these pieces of evidence. Ibang usapan kasi po pag nasa trial eh. Why? Because sa trial, we recognize even the bank secrecy law, the bank exception is cases of impeachment. So that can actually be subpoenaed in trial. No? However, that being the case, in trial, we at least have the opportunity to cross-examine and test the credibility of these witnesses. Now, if you have a certain, for example, again, and I'm sorry I have to keep on mentioning his name, but Mr. Ramil Madriaga, who presented a supplemental affidavit, and in that instance, we could not have even had the opportunity to test the credibility. In fact, even congressmen who wanted to ask and test the credibility were sort of, prevented from doing so only because they also wanted to be careful about asking probing questions.
Pero halimbawa kung ito'y nasa piskalya, ibalik natin doon kasi ito yung model eh. Can you test the credibility of a possible witness sa piskalya pala?
Opo, well, to be honest, kahit sa piskalya, yung mga abogado, hindi rin naman talaga pwede magtanong ng questions. We can only
walang
submit questions.
pagkakaiba.
Ang pagkakaiba po sa piskalya, hindi naman si fiskal yung mismong kumukuha ng ebidensya na wala doon in the first place. Diba? Pwede silang magkaroon ng clarificatory hearing, that's true. They can also perhaps, based on the evidence, for example, kung may pinakita naman doon na SAL-N pero hindi certified true copy, wala namang masama if the fiscal would then procure the certified true copy through subpoena or compulsory process. Pero sa amin po talaga kasi ma'am, ang posisyon namin is dito, walang naka-attach at all eh. All they attached were PSA certifications, the committee report on the Committee on Good Government. So we think that at some point, and again, this is, of course, we agree this is subject to debate, no? But at least for the position of the defense, dapat kasi talaga yung complainant, bago ka nag-file ng complaint, meron ka ng basihan, di ba? And meron ka ng ebidensya. Kasi kung hindi, anyone can just file a complaint. And then politically, if the committee would allow, then the committee will be the ones procuring all these pieces of evidence through their compulsory processes. That's why even when in our petition before the Supreme Court, we are actually questioning Section 7 of the rules of impeachment of the House, also in terms of the extent of the use of compulsory processes.
But what do you make of the fact that the Supreme Court this time did not respond, right, in the manner that you would have wished? The Supreme Court did not issue a temporary restraining order. In other words, the House committee considered it as a win.
Well, the Supreme Court not issuing a TRO is definitely something that well, we of course felt strongly about the issuance of a TRO, but the fact that they didn't does not mean naman that they will eventually decide against us, diba? Kasi when you don't issue a TRO, perhaps the Supreme Court, I don't want to second guess the Supreme Court, but perhaps they didn't think that there was an urgency in doing so, and that's okay for us. No, in fact, last year we filed a petition, and we also asked for a TRO. And in that instance, you must remember that the Supreme Court also did not issue a TRO at that time. We don't want to question the wisdom of the TRO. So sa atin, no, we'll see. Our petition is still there. We'll see how they appreciate our arguments and having seen the conduct or the manner that these committee proceedings were conducted, we'll wait for the resolution of the Supreme Court on that.
Okay, so you talked about the House Committee on Justice. They themselves subpoenaing, in other words, issuing a subpoena for evidence that fiscals don't do. But let's talk about former Senator Antonio Trillanes. For example, former Senator Trillanes has had that accusation for over 10 years now. To be fair to Trillanes, even prior to Duterte winning the elections in 2016.
Yes.
He already had those records, and we can stick with one, which is the bank account, the alleged bank account of former President Duterte and the Vice President.
Yes.
So may joint bank account sila, and he even knows the bank. It is BPI Julia Vargas. And he has the statements, the transactions, cash in and out of the account. Roughly in a span of time, it was at 1.2 billion in total, no? So I'm curious, does the Vice President deny the existence of that account?
Well, right now, of course, the defense team, we have a strategy on that matter. We cannot really fully disclose it. Perhaps one thing I could mention now is if you look at the transactions that were mentioned even in the AMLAC report, which includes, I suppose, no, allegedly the list of.
But is she
former
in that
senator.
account? In other words, at one point, useless rin pag pinatawag ang BPI. So you might as well say it. Does she have an account?
Well, actually, ma'am, that's the problem. We cannot really disclose the strategy because yes, you know, you do see that there's an account. There have been people who deposited, and the nomenclature of that account is, I think, Rodrigo Duterte or Rodrigo Duterte and Sara Duterte. Now, how we interpret that, is that her account? Does she have that account? That is something that will be tackled in trial, and that is something we're ready to confront. However, I hope, I beg your indulgence on this part. I can just not disclose the details because that will go into the defense already.
Because Attorney Poa, ang tanong dito, if it is proven that she is a part of that account, hypothetically, that let's say the bank confirms, yes, this is a joint account between the former president and the vice president. And then and the bank says, and this happened already to Erap Estrada. The bank confirmed he is Jose Velarde, right? The bank confirmed, yes, this is Renato Corona's account.
Yes.
So when the bank comes in, this is considered, at least in the history of the impeachment trials we've had, a game changer. So ang susunod na tanong kasi is why didn't she declare this in her SALN? Deposits to her name.
That's correct, ma'am. And that is exactly what we will respond to in
Yes.
the impeachment trial. No? We're ready with that. Of course, this is something we really anticipated kasi hindi na, kahit naman last year lumalabas na ito, lumalabas na rin sa social media yung mga nagde-deposit sa account na to. So you're right, that will probably be a question. In fact, that will certainly be a question, no? But that is something that we're ready to confront. But also remember that there are certain details in the alleged AMLAC report and these alleged accounts that were supposedly existent, sabi nyo nga 10 years ago, which is not covered, no, by impeachable offenses, as the Supreme Court has held in the case of Duterte versus HOR. Impeachable offenses only refer to offenses committed while the impeachable officer is in office. But having said that, that is not going to be our way, our sole way to just skirt around this issue. No, we will confront that issue on ownership, or that she owned the account and why it was not declared straight on during the trial. We're ready for that, Ms. Karen.
So is it a part of your strategy? Are you hoping that if hypothetically this gets to trial, that the judges can move not to accept those as evidence? Because that's happened in regular court trials.
Yes po. But again, of course, that's one of the defenses that can be raised. But you know, the judges can decide either way. So you know, if of course we can raise the fact that they should not accept these because these are outside what is defined by the Supreme Court as impeachable offenses. But again, we have to anticipate everything. And even if the judges were to decide the other way, we are ready to confront that straight on, as I've mentioned. No, at least. With the existence, with ownership, and all of these things in relation to these accounts.
Okay, now at one point you did say the reason that the Vice President had no cash on hand in her SALN was it was under others, okay? So the SALN, if we look at recent history, the SALN has removed people from office. I mean, Chief Justice Sereno, if you look at that, she just did not file her SALN. Wala pang alleged corruption yun, ha? She just didn't file her SALN during the time that she was a UP professor, I believe for 1 year. And she was removed as Chief Justice. Si Renato Corona naman, they did not find the cash that was in his accounts declared in the SALN. How could you actually justify that the cash is in others? How do you justify that when the SALN is so clear with where you put certain assets and liabilities?
Okay. First of all, I'd like to make a distinction, ma'am, dun sa cases ni CJ Sereno and of course the late former CJ Corona. I think the issue there was even because if the SALNs were not filed or there was something wrong with them prior to their assumption as Supreme Court Justice or Chief Justice is because of the qualification of probity, integrity, and all that is a qualification to be a justice. Here naman, it's very different, no? Because we're talking about the Vice President, walang ganyang qualifications. But I would rather answer your question straight on also. Pagdating po, ang nangyari po kasi dito, and this was done with consultation, of course, from our client because 2019 yung unang na nag-iba, no? Nilagay ito under other personal properties to be quite accurate of how it was written. That was her decision to just lump this up under other personal properties. So ang nakalagay sa SALN under personal properties is vehicles or motor vehicles, and then there's another line item, in fact 2 other line items that were labeled other personal properties. Marami nagsasabi na nagpapalusot lang daw kami and all that. To be honest, you know me, I just tell you straight what the facts are. Yun naman talaga yung nakasulat sa SALN, and based on our conversation with our client, it was really just lumped there. No? In our position, if you read the omnibus guidelines no, ng CSC,
But she did not put the actual amount.
She put the amount. It was really the label of cash in bank. From cash in bank previously, she lumped it up to other personal properties. No, but under the omnibus guidelines, one, wala namang prohibition in our opinion. Of course, I'm sure the other side will have a different opinion, but in our position is wala namang prohibition to lump it up. No, but secondly, what's more important, and you mentioned it, the amount was indicated. No? And if the amount is indicated, there is no concealment as far as not disclosing assets are concerned. No? Perhaps there is a debate on whether it should have been specifically labeled as cash in bank, or okay lang ba yung other personal properties, but the amount was there and there was no concealment at all. That is our position, and that is the truth basically, that the amount was there. It's not like she said wala akong cash at all for this year.
Okay, but Attorney Poa, if the allegations of Trillanes on the bank account are proven to be true, we're not saying yet that it is, how will your team justify supposed deposits of Sami Uy amounting to 7 million pesos in tranches to the Vice President? Because even if it was done before she was Vice President, it's still against the law for a public official to be receiving that kind of money, right, from a private individual.
Yes. Ms. Karen, the question, I guess, is if she received that money at all. The Vice President denies receiving that money. As we've seen from the AMLAC reports, I think they reported certain managers' checks being procured or obtained by Sami Uy, allegedly addressed to the Vice President. That is something we'll have to address. If the MCs were procured because right now, they're all allegations, no? Apparently, may na-procure na MC amounting to a certain amount, 7 million, and the payee was supposedly the Vice President. Now, of course, it's another matter if that MC was actually deposited or paid to the Vice President, because the Vice President has denied that, no? And so that is something, again, without disclosing our legal strategy or the way we will attack this matter, that is something that definitely we will be able to clarify during the proceedings if in fact umakyat po ito sa Senado.
But if the Vice President has denied that and it is proven that the bank account is shared, isn't this also, in effect, at the end of the day, being a public official, an elected official, a leader, right? There's still a form of accountability with her that she should know what is deposited to that account because it has her name on it.
Again, Ms. Karen, I really want to answer your questions directly, to be very, very candid with you. But that really goes into the defense already. Again, we have to be cautious with saying things now, but we are pertaining to, again, a certain alleged joint bank account between the President and the Vice President. So the nature of that account and all of those things will be discussed in trial. And I really hope I could clarify this now para matapos na tayo, diba? I mean, in terms of explaining to the public. But again, we have to be conscious that there is big possibility that this will go up to the Senate, and we'd like to reserve whatever our defenses are for that time, with all due respect to you, of course, and to the public.
Okay. Attorney, so how is the Vice President at this point?
Well, the Vice President has always been business as usual, and I know it sounds cliche, but that's really how she's been, for not just for for at this point, but for the past 2-3 years when she's been the subject of attacks. I believe she's confident that the legal team that she has formed will be able to or is capable to defend her against all of these allegations. So she's business as usual. She's still going on about all of her projects and all of her programs in
Okay.
the So ano lang naman po,
Yeah.
no? The Vice President is still just doing her job in mandate.
I'm curious, did she push through with her travel plans? I think she had a request. Did she?
Yes, I believe she's in The Hague right now for a series of meetings and visits.
Okay. And I think the last one, just very quickly, if this does reach the Senate, would you want the Vice President to take the stand?
It will depend on the situation, kung ano yung kinakailangan. Kung kinakailangan maging present doon ng ating Vice Presidente, syempre po, no, we will advise her to do so. Kung hindi naman kinakailangan, as you've seen in previous impeachment trials, then the defense will be there. But it will really depend on the circumstances. It will also depend if the Senate does order her to appear. So all of these things will have to take into consideration.
On that note, I want to thank you for joining me today, Attorney Michael Poa. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Good morning, and good morning to all of your viewers.
At Food Panda, we're on a mission to make life delicious. Dahil minsan, sobrang init. But with more than 30,000 restaurants just a tap away, a world of flavor awaits you. Kahit tunaw na tunaw ka na. Make life delicious.
Food Panda?
We have been in the construction business for 22
Mahiya
years.
naman kayo, lalo sa mga anak natin.
Rodrigo, what China is doing to the Philippines.
So I would presume that in the 23 years,
Understanding politics, listening to the right one.
At ito po ang ating 29th episode ng The Insiders. Maniniwala ka ba, EL? Malapit na tayo mag-30.
Oo nga.
Diba? So halos edad na natin.
Oo nga,
na lang.
edad na natin, 30 years old.
Mukhang palagay ko walang naniwala.
Sobrang naman.
Kahit
Dapat may confirmation bias tayo. Tama. I'm 30 years old.
Okay. So, sabi nga ni Sec EL, bombastic evening dahil madaming mga nangyari ngayong araw na ito. Diba? Bukod sa second hearing ng House Committee on Justice na nagpresenta ng iba't ibang testimonya at ebidensya, kanina lang, actually about an hour ago, lumabas na rin ang desisyon ng ICC Appeals Chamber denying with finality yung panawagan ng kampo ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte na i-dismiss yung kaso.
Anong ibig sabihin nun? Essentially, what does the decision mean?
Ibig sabihin, in-affirm na ng ICC na meron siyang jurisdiction na i-hear yun. Kasi ang main argument ng kampo ni dating Pangulong Duterte dito, kung yung maalala, ay dahil daw nag-withdraw na ang Pilipinas,
Correct.
hindi na pwedeng itry. Pero ang sabi nga ng Appeals Chamber, dahil yung mga iniimbestigahan at yung currently basis o batayan doon sa mga kaso na kasampa, nangyari habang tayo ay miyembro pa, covered ito sa ilalim ng Rome Statute. So yan na yung final decision. Kasi appeal na ito.
So after this,
mukhang tutuloy na tayo.
proper na.
Hindi, tutuloy. Hindi pa tayo hindi pa nagdedesisyon sa confirmation of charges eh. So hihintayin natin yung
isa pa.
Oo, yung
may another round of arguments.
hindi na. Nag-present na yung mga yung mga both parties. So ang hihintayin na lang natin dito yung desisyon,
which is when?
Hindi ko alam kung ano yung time frame. Pero within a few months yan, lalabas na. Kapag na-affirm yun, tuloy na sa trial proper.
Kaya pala aalis ang ating Vice President.
Oo nga eh. Tsaka medyo mahaba-haba, di ba? Kailan daw? April 23 hanggang
to May
May 15. Halos isang buwan.
Oo nga eh.
Diba? Ano yan? Sabi nga nila, the great
SARA
escape. Baka ayaw yata sumagot ng mga tanong eh. Dahil madami mga tanong na lumabas kanina eh. At mamaya, ito, siyempre, ang ating paboritong guest ay nandito muli.
Oo.
Para tayo ay tulungang himayin kung
Pero
ano ba.
sandali lang. Yung dati mo, medyo, what is it called? Nag-quake? Anong quake sa Tagalog?
Lindol?
Hindi lindol, yugyug.
Nayanig.
Nayanig ang Pinklawan na world. Nag-anunsyo ang boss mo.
Ang dati kong principal.
Ang dati kong principal na hindi na siya tatakbo. Dahil sa'yo, hindi ka available kahapon.
Ikaw ang humarap?
Ako humarap. Si Frank Biron humarap.
Kasi sabi mo, parang naging spokesperson kita.
Oo, tama.
Parang napakalaking honor yata.
Sinabi ko, hinanap ako. Sabi ko, can you please talk to Attorney Barry Gutierrez first? If he's not available, then I'll be willing to do the interview. Hindi ka yata pwede kahapon eh.
Hindi. Tsaka, eto personal ko lang na pananaw, EL. Ilang beses, at sinabi rin naman to ni VP Lenny, ni Mayor Lenny, kanina uli. Ilang beses na niyang sinagot yung tanong na yan eh. Ilang beses na niyang sinabi na hindi siya interesadong tumakbo for a national position. So ako, wala na akong idadagdag doon.
I just saw a text that they're trying to collect 1 million signatures na naman.
Kanina, ako, very, very clear yung sinabi niya kanina. Doon sa kanya, meron siyang follow-up interview na ginawa sa Naga uli. At sinabi niya na 100% sure na ako na hindi na ako maghahabol ng national position.
Wala na most probably. Kasi in-interview ako.
Tapos tinanong pa siya, paano pa itong mga nagpe-pressure? Sabi niya, wala na yan. Diba? Parang ganon. So, ako, diba? From the start, ang aking attitude naman dyan, pakinggan natin yung sinasabi ni Mayor Lenny at kung sinabi niyang gano'n, di tanggapin natin.
But I think we owe it to the people that now that she has decided not to pursue a national post. I think we should let the other worthy candidates also take a chance, take a look at them naman tulad nila Bam, nila Rizzo.
And that's what she said kanina.
Exactly.
Sinabi niya madaming mga iba naman na pwedeng tumakbo. Binanggit niya mga pangalan.
One thing I take exception is parang it creates a vacuum. There's no such thing as a vacuum because nature always abhors a vacuum. And whenever there's a vacuum, it is filled up by nature. So the natural expectation, the natural flow is, kung wala na si Lenny, may mga kandidato tayo. So let's consider them. Risa, Bam, whoever.
Hindi ako, naintindihan ko pa EL yung disappointment ng maraming tao. Kasi sa totoo naman, for the longest time, siya talaga ang tumindig bilang leader, 'di ba, nitong pangkat na ito, nitong ganitong klaseng pananaw, 'di ba? And ako tingin ko personally, 'di ba, malaki ang utang na loob natin kay VP Lenny, yung kanyang pagtakbo noong 2016 as Vice President, yung kanyang pagtakbo as President noong 2022 in response dun sa clamor ng mga tao. Pero ngayong sinasabi na niya na mas masaya ako sa Naga, mas gusto ko tong trabahon to. Tingin ko mas madami akong magagawa dito. Hindi ba dapat galangin din natin yung yun? And respect yung kanyang posisyon. Say thank you for yung malaking contribution niya sa lipunan and honor yung kanyang faith in the process, 'di ba? And in yung mas malaking grupo na kanyang kinatawan nung panahon na yun.
So we move on. I mean, there's such a disappointment that she decided not to run, but we have to move on. And we cannot keep on relying on a nostalgic feeling about hoping that Lenny will run. Like what Prime Minister Carney said, nostalgia is not a strategy.
Wow.
So let's move on and let's find worthy candidates. Kasi if we keep on lingering and pining and hoping for Lenny to run, and which she already said no, then we're wasting time, too much time, thinking about Lenny. Let's move on and let's look for the worthy candidates who have volunteered themselves to say, I'm ready to run for president. And bigyan natin sila ng opportunity to present themselves to the public so that I am very, very certain that there will be one who will be worthy to be our candidate in 2028. So let's give them a chance. So, yun na lang ang pakiusap natin sa ating mga the same forces, the yellows, the pink. Let's give the other candidates a chance. Tapos na yan. So let's thank Lenny for her